All right, so you've heard from Mike Rogers in defense of the NSA and opposed to this amendment that's going to be a part of the defense spending bill being considered today by the full House of Representatives. The man who has convinced Speaker John Boehner to give it a fair hearing is on the other end of our line. He's another Republican Michigan congressman who's at odds with Congressman Rogers over this, and that is Justin Amash, who's on the other end of our line. How are you?
Great, Frank. Thanks for having me on.
Well, nice of you to join us. So Mike Rogers says nothing to worry about here. This is not a program that's run by the administration or politicians. This is absolutely critical to national security. We need to keep giving the NSA the authority to do this under proper oversight.
Well, it's an out-of-control program that has no proper oversight. In fact, I'm not even allowed to see the FISA court cases. Those are the secret court cases that interpret the Patriot Act, which is producing and interpreting new laws based on the original language.
So there are still issues here that you don't trust what they're doing.
Yeah, of course I don't trust what they're doing. They're collecting the phone records of every American in the country, every single person. You, your family, everyone you know is having their phone numbers collected and stored in a database. And the issue with the Fourth Amendment is not whether the government ever searches it, it's whether government seizes it as well.
As you talked about this with Speaker Boehner, what was his response? What was that conversation like as you tried to get him to allow this?
Well, I think Speaker Boehner came to the realization, the recognition that there were enough members in our conference to support this amendment and who want to have this debate on the House floor, and that if we didn't get an amendment like this, they were going to have a very hard time getting the appropriations bill to the House floor.
Mm-hmm. And do you think the inclusion of this amendment is going to change the votes of some on the appropriations bill, the defense spending bill?
Well, there are a lot of us who will support the appropriations bill if it includes this language, but might not support it if it doesn't. I think it's critically important that we take care of this issue. The American people demand it. I've been to town halls throughout my district. I've been to places throughout the state, and it's not a partisan issue. This is not about Republican versus Democrat. It's about the American people versus Washington political elites.
But who's taking advantage of the information in your mind? Who's the one using this information improperly?
Well, certainly the NSA has the information. The question is not whether they're using it improperly right now. The question is whether they should have the information. And our Constitution prohibits the government from collecting this kind of information. It protects all of our papers and effects, and in the modern era, our papers and effects are digital ones, and that could include records that are stored by companies that we work with.
Okay, describe is there a specific danger that you see in government storing the numbers? Obviously, they can't listen to every phone conversation. It's an impossibility. So they're not doing that. They've got the record, though, right now of us calling you or you calling me.
Yep.
That's in their record. That's in their database.
That's right. This phone call is in their record, yeah.
Right, exactly. So let me ask you the devil's advocate question. So what does that harm?
Well, the danger is having a government that stores this kind of information. It's not this particular government, but at least we hope not. But the founders and framers of the Constitution were certainly concerned about this. That's why they put the Fourth Amendment in place. They didn't want the government coming into their homes. They certainly wouldn't have approved of the government coming into their houses or their places of work, making copies, facsimiles of all of their documents, and then saying, okay, you can have them back. We promise we won't look at them. The danger is in one entity, the federal government, amassing this kind of power and control.
It's a search and seizure issue.
Absolutely, it's a search and seizure issue, but with the wrong kind of government in place, without the proper oversight, you could have a government that starts blackmailing people, bribing people, and becomes a real threat to our society. And I'll also add that my mom is Syrian, my dad is Palestinian. They came from the Middle East. They lived in countries, in places where they were afraid of the government spying on them. And it creates a chilling effect on society. People are afraid to talk on the phone. They're afraid to talk to their neighbors because they're always worried that someone is watching them. And we don't want to have that kind of society here in America. That's why my parents came to the United States.
So what exactly would your amendment do, Congressman Amash?
All my amendment would do would limit the collection of information by the NSA to those records that pertain to a person who's the subject of an investigation. So if someone is under investigation pursuant to the Patriot Act, the NSA could certainly collect all of those records. But if the person is not actually under suspicion, then the NSA can't collect those records, and that's how our Constitution is supposed to work.
Does that, though, somehow threaten, or at least give us the possibility that some information might not reach the proper eyes in the intelligence community to prevent some sort of attack that might be planned against us?
Well, the government could also demand that they put video cameras in everyone's homes or tracking chips on people's cars, and then when you say let's defund them, let's take that off, they could say, well, that's going to make it harder for us to do our job of protecting people. Sure, in this world we have to decide whether we want a complete police state, whether we want to move in that direction, or whether we want to have liberty. And the founders and the framers of the Constitution decided there were areas they didn't want government to go into, and this is one of those examples. They don't want the government collecting this kind of information because it's a threat to our liberty.
It sort of gets back to the old Ben Franklin line about yielding liberty in search for security, and soon you won't have either. That's
right. And I would add, there's a lot of talk about these terror plots, the 50-plus terror plots. The people who talk about these terror plots and how they've been stopped are conflating sections of FISA. So that's under Section 702. It's a different program. The program we're talking about is called Section 215, and that's the program in which Senators Wyden and Udall and many others, they're on the Intelligence Committee, have said they don't think that those programs are valuable.
All right. Any chance this would pass the Senate if it does get through the House as part of the spending bill?
Well, I'm very hopeful. The American people are overwhelmingly in favor of this. In fact, I've been getting tweets and messages over the last few days, and it's basically impossible to find one that is not supportive of my amendment. So it'll be an interesting thing, and today we're going to get every member of Congress in the House on the record. We're going to find out, do they support the indiscriminate collection of Americans' phone records or don't they? If they vote no on my amendment, that means they support collecting every phone record from every person, including you and your family.
Thanks for being with us. By the way, speaking of the Senate, any decision yet?
I've got nothing to add to that yet.
All right, just thought we'd check. How close are you? When are you going to decide?
I think we'll have a decision sometime soon.
What does that mean?
Well, once you get into the fall, you've got to make a decision about this, in my opinion.
So by September?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Always good to talk with you.
Thanks, Frank.
Congressman Justin Amash.